PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the newest massive multiplayer online survival game, or more commonly known as a battle royale game, coming to us from Bluehole Studios. Now, since this game released on March 23rd, it's taken the community by storm, and the players in the Battle Royale community have deemed it as the best of its kind. Now, as far as competition, the most popular Battle Royale game at the time was most likely H1Z1 King of the Kill. And PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds actually comes from one of the same developers that worked on H1Z1 King of the Kill, as well as the Arma 3 Battle Royale mod. So right off the bat, this game is coming from a team that has a lot of experience in this genre, and the Battle Royale genre is pretty unique because a lot of its games are plagued by early access that rarely comes to fruition with a full release. Battle Royale games are basically a last man standing type of scenario, and in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds you can either play solo, duo, or with a 4-man team. Battle Royale games are very similar to the Hunger Games type of scenario, in which players are dropped into a map and they have to use the items and weapons at their disposal to come out victorious over a large amount of other enemies. Now, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a bit different from other games such as Ark Survival of the Fittest and The Culling because there is no crafting in the game whatsoever. So this provides an experience that's fairly easy to pick up for beginners, but also leaves a lot of room for skill because the mechanics in the game as far as gunplay are very realistic compared to other games. Now, before I rant on for too long, this video is a review in progress, and by in progress I mean that it's not a final decision on the game. The only reason I say in progress is because the game is obviously in early development and I can't give a full 100% review on a game that is nowhere near being finished. My intention with this review in progress is to give people a fair representation of the game without giving it a full verdict. Now, since it is in early access, obviously the game has issues and those will play into the final score, but I hope that at the end of this review you have a fair opinion on the game given my experience so far. Take it with a grain of salt, but also I hope it impacts your final decision on whether you want to buy the game or not in its current state. With all that said and done, I will be judging the game on graphics, audio, and the overall gameplay experience. So let's get into it. So as far as the overall visual representation of the game, you have to kind of give it a little wiggle room since it is an early access game. I'm sure that they will be improving on the graphics of the game, but at this point it actually looks pretty damn good. So in the gameplay footage that you see, I'm actually running it on low settings across the board. And for a game that's running on low and the scale of the game, it looks pretty good given its current situation. Now, when this game is pushed up to ultra settings, it's probably the best looking battle royale game I've seen. Now, the only exception to this, as you can see in my gameplay, is that a huge problem with the game is the buildings not rendering properly. And as you can see, this gives a pretty Play-Doh-y effect to the textures. Now, this is not at all a representation of what the game looks like in a normal scenario, but it is definitely an issue, especially when you're talking about how pretty the game looks. A lot of the times that I parachute into the game, I'm basically faced with a bunch of buildings that I can't enter that look like Play-Doh creations from a toddler. And yeah, it's probably the only plaguing issue about the game I can say so far. But if you're looking to get a visual representation of the game at its best, my gameplay is probably not the best option for you. You can definitely go check out some other YouTubers like Jack Frags that are covering this game, that are running it on very high settings. That being said, I'm still thoroughly enjoying this game on low settings, and overall, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is not a game that draws you in because of its graphics like a lot of other AAA titles do. This is a game that has taken the community by storm because it offers a gameplay experience that has not been matched and probably won't be matched by any other game. And this is largely due to the fact that the developers have a lot of experience developing Battle Royale titles. So while the game does look good overall, this is really just a bonus and not an actual reason to buy the game. Moving on to audio and sounds, Battle Royale, what? That's not what it's called. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds sounds just as good as it looks for the most part. Similar to many other competitive shooters, being aware of the audio and having a good headset is really important in this game if you want to win. Now, as far as the gunshots go, they definitely sound very realistic. I'm not really an expert, but they sound great. I've never shot a real gun in my life, so I can't say how realistic they are, but the overall sound of the game feels very authentic to me. Now, how gunshot sound travels in the game is still rather confusing to me, but the developers have explained how it's supposed to work. And that is that the direction you're facing should be the loudest if the gunshots are coming from there. So if I'm taking fire from basically just straight north and I'm facing north, that will be the loudest. So you kind of have to do a 360-degree turn and figure out where the gunshots are loudest in accordance to where you are facing. It's a little confusing, especially when you're in the heat of battle, but it's something that the developers have said that they will improve on in the future. Apart from gunshots, the general background noise of the game plays a huge part into the gameplay experience because, for instance, when a plane is flying over you, you're basically bombarded with loud aircraft noise. And considering you can hear footsteps to use to your advantage very heavily in this game, players may choose to push up on a position that you were camping in when a plane flies over because you won't be able to hear their footsteps. So it's little things like this that play into the overall experience of the game. Now, as far as issues go with the audio of the game, since it is in early access, there are a few bugs as far as footsteps go. So when you're walking in a building, basically you get a sound of shoes on a hardwood floor or something like that. When you're walking on sand or grass, you know, the sound changes. But there is a few bugs where you'll be walking in a house and it sounds like you're in a swamp. And probably the most annoying bug of all is that randomly you can basically get the sound of a bullet or a shell dropping on like a hardwood floor, and no one's around you, you haven't reloaded or even shot, and it kind of just throws you off. And I don't really know why it happens, but there's a few bugs like this that kind of draw away from the immersion of the game. But in general, they're just kind of annoying and easily overlooked. Now, overall, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has been deemed by the community to be the best Battle Royale experience out there, and I tend to agree with that statement. Not only is it the best Battle Royale game out there, but it really provides such a unique experience that has not been matched or even copied by any other game that I've ever played. As far as the Battle Royale genre goes, It greatly differs from other games in the genre because it offers a very realistic experience compared to other games such as The Culling or H1Z1 King of the Kill. And if you navigate to the user reviews in the Steam section, you'll find that virtually 100% of the players say that Battlegrounds is much better than H1Z1 King of the Kill, and that's largely due to the fact that the developers behind Battlegrounds have experience from H1Z1 King of the Kill and other Battle Royale games. So just 9 months in development, Bluehole Studios have been able to come up with this complete success of a game. It made 11 million in the first 3 days that it entered early access on Steam, and it's now surpassed well over 1 million copies sold. Now, I couldn't finish this review without saying that this game has given me a lot of frustration and anger, but that is largely due to the fact that this is an incredibly competitive game, and if you don't get your way, it can be pretty frustrating. For instance, I've finished in second place 5 times at least now, and putting yourself in my perspective, you're playing this game for maybe half an hour just to finish second place. It definitely sucks, but regardless of how frustrating this game has made me in specific matches, it keeps drawing me back in because even games that I lose in, getting kills in this game feels so satisfying, and it keeps drawing you in because there is a huge incentive to get that number 1 spot in the match. To be quite frank, just the simple concept and sheer nature of the game is enough to sell itself, and many players will agree with that statement. The overall gameplay experience is completely unmatched by any other game of the genre, or any other genre for that matter. It is plagued by one simple factor that plagues most other early access games, and that is poor optimization. When the game was launched into early access on March 23rd, it had been the product of 9 months of development, and given the success of the game and its current state, that is truly impressive. While Bluehole Studios have provided an astounding gameplay experience so early in development, it is up to time to tell whether or not they will keep their promise and fully release the game, as well as improve upon the optimization of the game and add new content consistently. While it was hard to come up with an actual score for this review in progress, I did put in over 40 hours into Battlegrounds, and I think I've put in an appropriate amount of time to come up with a fair score for the game. For this review in progress, I am giving PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds a 7 out of 10. Now, a 7 out of 10 is in no means a bad score, as any 10 out of 10 score would have to be for a literally perfect game, which are pretty rare these days. But for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds to get a higher score, it definitely would need to be fully optimized and with a lot more content, which I'm sure it will in the future, and I definitely intend to come back to this game with a full review upon full release. In its current state, optimization was the reason for it not being able to reach a higher score. Right now, you can only actually play the game with a relatively high tier computer, so sadly, a lot of players won't be able to enjoy PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds to its fullest. Overall, I still stand by the statement that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the best Battle Royale game out there, and definitely the best that I've ever played. It definitely provides a unique experience that is unmatched by any other game of the genre, or any other genre for that matter. But beware that going into it, it is a very competitive game, and it's not all happiness, sunshine, and rainbows. That being said, if you are a competitive gamer and you do like Battle Royale games but haven't picked up Battlegrounds yet, I definitely recommend it. With everything said and done, stay tuned to GZU for more Battlegrounds Let's Plays, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
Yeah.